This is Dust War Journals episode 40, your number one spot for all news and discussion related to Dust 1947. My name is Johannes. With me today are...
Well, well, thank you. It's just, no, don't get up, just sit down. It's okay. I know you're getting overexcited. It's just me, Loda. Okay, guys, come here. Let's have a hug. Okay, come on. Let's start with a hug. Okay, and guys, there's nothing erotic with a man's hand on your bottom. I promise you, it's nothing erotic. That's just. Thank you.
And of course.
And Magnus.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
So you are seem to having a good day at least.
Oh yeah. Yes. It's good to be me. Especially the things that you put in this drink over here. I'm just. It's always good to be at Johannes. Sorry. Did you say something?
I was planning to, but it seems like you have all the things to say.
Oh,
today,
yes. I have a ton of things to say today. I think this.
I think so. So just going through the kind of the prepared kind of
definitely
sheet here. Starting as we usually do with Hobby Time. So. Since you seem to be so eager to speak today, are you having any hobby stories to tell today?
No, just not just the usual things. I'm actually just ticking along there, doing my list for Berlin. I'm going to Berlin here the coming weekend. It's tomorrow actually. I'm over to Berlin.
Very nice.
Talking about that, perhaps I have this. Just a little thing people don't know, actually, It's so interesting to go to Berlin because, it wasn't, discovered until 1857, I think, the Great Finnish Crusade that swept all of Europe. And,
I thought you meant the city wasn't discovered.
No, it actually wasn't discovered until 1857, I think it was. Right. And it was just the Finnish that were finally excavating it. And
then they found the Brandenburg Tor and everything.
Yeah, and funny thing is actually if you translate Berlin in Finnish, it means small Italian game designer or something like that, or it's a very, very, very interesting thing actually. Just bringing you the knowledge. Sorry. Yeah. No. But don't let me stop you. Do we have anything else to talk about? Have you done anything?
No, not really.
Okay.
No,
I can continue then if you haven't done anything.
I think you're going to get your turn as well. Magnus, have you been doing anything hobby related recently?
Yes, not too much dust. A little bit with some 3D printed stuff, but nothing that's finished. I have some really interesting things coming up, but it's gonna take a little bit more time for that. But I did, as I talked about last time, I got a bunch of Kickstarter board games.
Oh yeah.
And I've spent some time on one of them trying to get things painted and also with the help of Mats, of course, got some stuff 3D printed. And I actually brought some stuff. It's not.
It's time to show us the goodies.
Yeah, it's not dust related actually, but just to keep going with the 3D stuff that you can print. Well, I'm not sure. I can sort of pass this round. Hang on.
Yes, pass it along.
Yes, I see. There's not really the same type of scale here, but not too far off.
I will just for you guys out there, you will see this in a photo right about now, I suppose. But I'm showing you guys here some stuff just to make sort of. Yeah, show what it kind of looks like. And Ludde, you have already seen this a little bit.
Very nice.
I'm drinking it all in. I'm drinking it all in.
Yeah, we can just we'll make a better photo. Yeah. But I can just pass this along and you can take a look at it if you like.
Yeah, that's very nice. Very sci-fi, more modern sci-fi.
Yeah, and this is
weird word.
I just searched around, basically. I mean, there's a big site called Thingiverse, where you can find tons and tons of stuff for 3D printing.
Yeah.
Basically all kinds of stuff. And you don't really have to be really knowledgeable about this, because there are some pretty cool software. There's even an online one that's called Tinkercad that you can, change some measurements and stuff. So if you find something and it's not exactly what you want, you can probably do some quick changes. Like this stuff, I just rescaled it a little bit to make it fit these specific measurements. And of course you can do that for dust as well. If you want stuff to fit the dust grid,
absolutely.
you can just scale it up or down a little bit.
Speaking about those tanks that Mats has been printing, I know that he found a collection of tanks for 1/100 scale, so basically like Flames of War, Team Yankee, that sort of scale, and just rescale them to fit with dust.
Yeah, and
so very simple.
There are so many things out there, and of course many of them will not be in 1:48 scale, but you can easily find either 1:100 or 1:56. I mean, there's a lot of stuff been made for like bolt action, for example. So it's not that hard to do like quick changes. I mean, I'm not that good in 3D modeling stuff. I can do simple things, but just rescaling something is just super easy.
Yeah. It's usually just built into the printer software, so it's really simple.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of cool stuff you can do there, definitely. But speaking more specifically about dust, there's been a few new releases. As we said before, it seems like the studio has been holding off for a bit, but I think we now have a quite good idea why. For our viewers on YouTube, you already noticed that we have some goodies out here in the room with us. So
breaking character a little bit and just going back to being myself for a while. I just like it won't last, I promise you. The other personality will be back later in the show, but I don't know why. But it's just it's that kind of. Is it Monday? No, it's not a Monday today. It's a Thursday. I don't even know what week it is. But I mean, I would think we shouldn't mention too much about the thing that's on display here. I think we're going to do it in regular, normal show.
Yeah.
And I mean, this is not something that I don't see anything here that's
interesting.
No, why can't we just? I think we're going to do a 1.5 hour special on our own printed stuff, and then we leave these for. We can talk about them after the show, I think.
I don't think anybody out there is interested in any of these boxes at all. So,
what was it? No, it's like. Man, I was coming here to your place, and you had all this thing lined up, and you're like, "Oh, I don't want to look at this. I should look at this." That is over there, and you go like,
what's that?
"Oh yeah, what's that? Is that anything? Is it something special?
What's this?
It's something. What's that? What's that?" Sorry, it should have. I tried to get my daughter to see Nightmare Before Christmas through because it was the Halloween, but fortunately she refused it. She loves some of the songs, but so otherwise we could have done that as a true duet.
Yeah, exactly.
Perhaps next Halloween.
Yeah, we'll try and rehearse it for next year.
Wow.
Very well. So we are going to talk about these in a bit. But first, some things that actually have been released, I think. So go for in that kind of order. So we have, first off, there was the IJN weapon set. This has been requested by a lot of people just to be able to make their own conversions, make their own units if they want to. I mean, it's great that this stuff is out there.
Oh, yeah.
Definitely. And very interestingly, also something new for the studio themselves. A collector's scale model, 1 to 20th scale of Sigrid. So basically the same pose as the old hero figure, but in 1/20th scale. So slightly over. It's hard to tell exactly from the photo, but it's big.
But unfortunately not big enough. I mean,
you do want 1-to-1.
Yeah.
2-to-1. Yeah. You want to like.
No, I think I would be suffice with just 1-to-1.
Yeah.
I don't know in which room I would keep it.
But it's interesting that they are releasing this themselves. Because there has been another company that made a few resin scale model kits, I think in the same scale before this. It's interesting that the studio are getting into this. That means that those models probably sold
good.
Yeah, at least pretty well enough for the studio themselves to get into this. So that's really cool.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's the only Axis poster I would have is one with the Sigrid, and I do have one on the wall in my hobby room.
Yeah.
So, and this model is actually really, really teasing me. Fortunately, at the moment, I'm friggin' bankrupt, so I can't buy anything. I'm actually going on a shoestring budget for Berlin in a briefcase. I mean, like, or even almost
So
like
you're packing yourself in a briefcase?
yeah, almost like. And God knows that awful long bus trip. I think I had to. He could easily place me in the luggage compartment and just let me sleep there for the duration. Like pull me out. But sorry, I'm getting off topic now. I'm sorry, this wasn't actually meant. Go back to.
I
the
think
big,
we're going to
wonderful,
get back to at least at least next episode we're going to talk some aftermath about that.
Yeah, I hope so.
Definitely. But
yes.
there's been one very exciting release just earlier today as we are recording this, and that is the new Dustified kit, the Flammtiger. And yeah, it's basically a flamethrower-equipped Tiger tank. It just replaces the standard turret with a flamethrower and an X7 anti-tank rocket. Very cool thing, this.
A decent little tank, yeah.
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 And I'm as which a lot of these newer Dustified kits, I'm really hoping that they are going to start releasing the conversion kits as well, because this is something I will want people to be able to build themselves. But if you aren't inclined to build it yourself, or you just want the premium kit, it is available to purchase from the studio website right at this point, and it looks really cool.
Oh yeah,
it does look weird without the turret. It's a very strange profile. If you look at the stats, I mean, it's definitely nothing to sneeze at. Move 2, March 4, and Vehicle 6 with 7 hit points. It has the flamethrower, range 2, basic flamethrower stats, only front mounted. It has the X7 missile with range 8, and it does decent damage for tanks. I mean, up to 3 damage on vehicle 7. That's definitely not bad at all. And it has the standard axis machine gun mounted in the turret as well. And everything with this, it also has the wire guided with, I think, all of these missiles have, which is really interesting. So you can choose to fire only that weapon and none of the others, and then you can re-roll misses as if you were making a sustained attack. So really a sniper tank hunter in a way, and all this for just 10 points.
Yeah, it's fairly cheap.
Yeah.
But I mean, gut reaction could be that it's too cheap because it's a big tank and can sustain a lot of hits and damage. But on the other hand, it basically comes down that it's not. I mean, it's a normal speed, so, and it's a tank, so it could be hindered by some terrain and stuff. And the weapons, I mean, maximum range is the missile with range 8, and if it uses the missile, it will probably want to use the wire guided, at least if it's, you know, shooting at something at a distance. So it's not going to shoot with anything else. So it's just, you know, one die, yeah, sure, with reroll, but it's sort of limited. So these weapons are, while they are good, they are sort of situational, I guess. Yeah. Is what I'm saying.
Yeah, definitely.
Which is why I think it's so cheap, only 10 points.
Yeah. It's whatever. It can do 3 things, but it does only probably one thing at a time, and it's ain't that bad when it does that thing.
Yeah.
So it's like, you should be able to handle this one. You feel, at least. It's going to be very interesting to see this operate on the tabletop, and I hope some of you and some of the other Swedes get this fairly quick and starts playing with it, so one can experience it, because I'm really interested in to see how this one behaves. I'm just getting so mixed emotions about it. I see no problem with it, and I feel like it could be a cool little thing.
And for me, this really encapsulates what I want from Dustified units. It takes something existing, historical, but twists it into something very strange and very weird. And that
very
is
cool.
And very cool.
Yeah.
So that is really, really great. And that's basically it for the things that are actually released.
Good show, guys.
Yeah,
Thank you. Yeah, so.
But of
Another
course,
hug. Another hug. Yes, okay.
No, but we do have quite a lot of previews upcoming. We know what the studio has been saving up for this big Christmas release. We have the first wave of the ready-to-play miniatures. So we've heard from the studio that they are moving away from the primed figures and instead moving to what they are calling ready-to-play, which is instead of primed miniatures, it's colored plastic. So if you do want to paint them, you do have to prime them as well. And we've talked about this before. But now we actually have them right here in front of us, the first releases.
I didn't actually realize that, of course, these were ready-to-play miniatures. To me, it was just like...
Yeah. They are. It actually says right on the box, but you have to think...
I don't know how to read, so you have to point these things out to me, or shove it in my face before. It's just like...
But I understand you, because it's so much to just take in all these amazing things we have here. So let's just go through the list and talk about each of these boxes one at a time, talk about the content, talk about the stats. So let's talk about the 3 new HQ boxes. We got the IJN HQ box, the PLA HQ box, and the Mythos HQ box.
You know, my only motivation here is to fuck up everything you do, Johannes. So I just like to put this on the head, on its head from the beginning. I want us to start talking about the things we ain't talking about. That's just so, because we can say, we don't have to say that. We can have this as like a freaking spoiler in the end, or a cliffhanger, or whatever you want to do it.
Well, we should at least. Well, I do understand what you're implying here, and especially for our viewers out there in YouTube land, I think we should address probably the elephant in the room. And
it's not Magnus for once.
No, it's what's in front of Magnus this time.
Yes.
Yeah, it is the Paradise Lost.
Don't touch
book.
it, Magnus.
Yeah.
It can break. Okay.
And yes, we do have it. No, we are not talking about it this episode. We are planning to do an entire special episode where we are only talking about the book.
Should we just name it It? Because that would freak out.
I'm not sure if you can see it on camera, but it's a lot thicker than the previous expansions.
It's definitely. I haven't counted the pages, but it's about the same thickness as the main rulebook. So there's a lot of stuff in there.
Oh yes.
Also, our names are in there, which kind of surprised me a little bit. Us three and our good friend Essa, because we have been helping to kind of beta test some things for the studio. So I think that's... and it's not just us, we should say that there are some other people involved in that group as well.
But it's always nice to get acknowledged like that. It was a surprise to us, so thank you to the studio for putting our names in there. It's a fun little detail for us.
And it's more things that also we find very interesting, not only reading our names, but other text we've already, because of course we have read some parts of it already. We couldn't say no. I mean, we dived into it as soon as we... And,
of course.
But
more of that when we're actually talking more in depth about the book, I say. So let's go over to the plastic. And let's start with the IJN starter box then.
Okay,
so we have these.
We
have the PLA. We have the IJN headquarters box. So as with all of these starter headquarters boxes, you get the command squad and you get a few heroes. In this case, we are getting 3 heroes.
But I just like to point out, and just abrupt you when you do this, that we haven't said what we talked about. It's just a book, and I think we shouldn't say it's just. I think everyone knows.
Yes,
what
we did, but maybe you were.
Okay, so I was sorry.
Sorry.
Yes, throw it away. Come on now, let's have some energy. This is freaking awesome. Oh, I get some.
Yes,
I always get some. In the end, I'm tenacious.
That's how we go. In this case, we have there's some very interesting things going on in this box, I would say, because for one thing, this is the first starter that has technically 6 miniatures inside it, or rather, there is one support weapon squad inside the HQ box. So there's 2 miniatures in one in one on one base, which means that there are 6 hit points, so to speak. I know there was some kind of discussions on that on our forums, that the Command Squad card is a little bit, because it says it has 2 hit points on it, and there are 6, but that is because that specific miniature with the 2 girls, they have 2 hit points.
Yeah, normally infantry units like that, they don't have any mention of their hit points, because every model in the unit only have 1 hit point. But in this case, one model has 2 hit points. That's why.
Is it okay to open these, or do we want to have them inboxed because we want to give these perhaps away in future? I mean,
if we do give them away, then they are slightly used. So that basically, I think it's definitely okay for us to open them.
I'd like to.
We definitely. And we definitely want to look at the plastic itself, because this is something that is new and interesting.
Yeah, definitely. I saw scissors over here, so I'm just digging in. The commander here with the binoculars and the machine gun. What a super pose! So extremely feminine, but so extremely not sexualized. As to say, this is just. Someone will probably irritated on that model as well.
I agree. This is definitely. I don't think this is sexualized. This is a really badass miniature.
But you're a middle-aged white man, so you don't know shit. So
no, that's true. That's true. I have just one opinion among many. But I think this Command Squad is really interesting. It's 12 points, which is kind of typical for a Command Squad. Even maybe a little bit expensive. But you do have that. The one thing that really takes the cake for this one is the heavy machine gun, the support squad. So that means that you can choose to fire their submachine guns or the heavy machine gun for that squad. So either 2 submachine guns with range 3 or the 1 heavy machine gun. So it depends on what you're firing at. If you are close range firing at an advancing infantry squad, then maybe you're better off using the 2 submachine guns, because that's more dice. But if you're shooting at something further away, then it's good to have that option. But what's really cool is that this squad has 6 katanas. That is 12 dice in close combat.
Yeah, against level 1 and 2.
Yeah, that is true. But it's still 6 dice when you are defending against infantry 3 or 4.
Or Winter Child, or Greg the little monkey boy.
Yeah, so
it's good.
It's a hard-hitting command squad in a lot of ways, and there's a lot of offensive options you can use.
Yeah,
it
has 2 lives here.
That can be a little bit weird. But if you think about it, every other command squad card doesn't have any HQ or hit point boxes at all.
So this is special. This is unique. This is new. And the reason why I cut up the bag for the. Do you want this? Say please. I want.
Please.
Oh, that's good. Please. Good. I will please you. No, but seriously, why I cut up the medic is over there. It was because it was a discoloration on the arm. So it's apparently another type of plastic on the arm, and I was thinking perhaps you can take that off and you can remodel. But
it is slightly different, and I think it might have to do with brittleness and maybe because the arm that is a different color is holding a sword.
Yeah, the katana.
And it could be that is a little bit less stiff plastic, so the sword doesn't break.
That's very smart. That's very good.
So it's interesting to see if they've thought about that, and that could very
and it's
well
not
be
a
the
huge
case.
discoloration. We say to the ones who only listen to the pod that you don't mind. Oh yeah, that's an interesting card. That's a really interesting card.
Yeah, we're going to talk about the different card in a bit.
It's an interesting card.
First off, we're going to talk about the 3 heroes that are also included in there. We have Akiko, the Ensign Akiko Ottoman.
What is this?
Let's see. Where are the heroes here? There's one. There's her. There's Akiko.
Oh yeah, I love her.
She has infantry ace, and she has an expert rocket launcher, a submachine gun, and a katana. and 12 points for her, so she's a hero for the cadet units. And yes, the fact infantry is and expert rocket launcher with infinite ammo. I mean, that's
sick.
I can see why that's 12 points.
Yeah, it needs to be 12 points. But it's like Greg without the muscles, the fur, and all the monkey bits. It's you just like, what is this? It's weird. It's wonderful.
It's very weird and wonderful. Yes. And we also have Fumiko. Yeah, yes. She is the general head of the cadet academy. So she is an officer, she is a general, and she also is a tactician, which is a new skill that we haven't seen before, which is very interesting. Yeah. Tactician means that you get 3 extra pass activations each turn.
Yeah.
Might only be interesting in the first turn of the game, but it's interesting that you have that ability. So even if you have less units than the opposition, you might be able to pass.
Yeah.
Which, I definitely understand why they
even
call
if you have
that
more units.
Exactly. But I definitely understand why they call this skill tactician, because it opens up a whole lot of tactical opportunities. Definitely. And she is expensive. She is 15 points. So she does make up for that in quite a
it's like 10 squads of Japanese or something like that. No, sorry.
But it's interesting. It's going to be very interesting to see what people can do with this. And especially just seeing how the Japanese are ruining my day. We're going to go back to that later on. I'm having a hard time playing against the Japanese. But there's not also always the expensive girls. We also have Hitomi. And this is another cadet unit, another cadet hero.
And for you, it's hit on me, but okay, I guess you pronounce it.
Yeah, she has a mortar. This is the first single mortar hero that we've seen, which is interesting.
No, not the first mortar.
And it's a mortar, and it's not that much damage to vehicles, but it does do some damage at least. It has up to 1/1 for vehicle 7.
And isn't this is the small Japanese version, the foot mortar?
Yeah,
right?
exactly. It's a foot mortar. But what's interesting in it is that it has the phosphorus rule, so it shoots out flame that continues to burn. So you can use this even if it doesn't do that much damage to maybe cut off escape routes or advancing paths, something like that. So there's also a very tactical unit. And she's also fanatical, meaning that she's immune to suppression. And she's only 4 points.
Yeah.
So she's almost like a commissar in that way.
What's the movement on her now again?
2/5, so the same as the... also 5 hit points. So for just 4 points, she's just amazing in the cadet squads, just to buff them up.
Yeah, she can just be one of those, because sometimes I put in heroes in some squads just to get the life, to get the infantry squad into position.
Absolutely.
I don't give it that much. And then if you have something as cheap as that just to get 5 life points, it's very, very good. I get a little bit ticky about it's being better than a mortar, and it's hitting harder than a mortar. Of course, it has the phosphorus thing, and that could then perhaps be the explanation why it can damage. Because the other ones, the mortars are named heavy mortars actually, and stop at level 5 walkers. So you could feel like, and this one hits level 7. Yeah, okay, how's that working? You are
I guess
more
this is
historical
more concentrated blast because it doesn't have the artillery rule or anything. So this is just it's almost like a completely, I don't know. Yeah, its name is mortar, foot mortar, but it works completely differently compared to other mortars that we've previously seen in the game.
Yeah.
So.
But that's not everything you get in this box. You also get 3 unit cards for some older models that we've seen. First off, we have Kaori and Yukiko that's been released previously, but we now get updated cards so you can use them with the IJN properly.
Yeah.
And something that people might not have expected, you get another unit that you're now allowed to use with the IGN, and that is the Traitor.
Yeah.
Which is the new name for the Priest.
Yes.
So suddenly the Japanese are able to use priests in their armies. This is really, really interesting and fun.
He's now officially a double agent.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I'd just like to check. He's still a level 2 infantry. He's still 3-5. I don't know what he can link up with this time. So now he's more on his own. But the fact that he has trespassed. I mean, no trespass. He passed over. He's just defected. Yes. Well, all the things
I haven't really thought about what he can do for the Japanese army. I mean, like gameplay wise, what he will bring. But the coolest thing with this is the story arc for me.
Oh yeah, because we saw
bringing the story into the game and making cool. Yeah, I don't know. I think this is one of the really cool things with the game that they keep developing, reusing old characters, putting them back into the story, making cool new things for them to do.
Absolutely. And it's really nice because just to see that kind of stuff that were hinted at in previous books and now just see it come to fruition not only in the story but also on the battlefield itself. That is really, really cool.
Definitely.
Next up, the PLA HQ box.
But just keeping ourselves stuck a little bit on the priest there.
All right.
To me, you can still play him both as priest and...
this does not invalidate the old version of the card, absolutely not. So you're still able to use him as an allied unit.
You just have to be careful if he starts shooting your own troops in the back or something. If it doesn't, you realize why he's not rolling that special hit die or something in a certain case of scenarios.
So let's look at the PLA HQ box.
Yes, please.
So as with the other ones, you get the command squad itself, and this is a very cheap command squad. This is only 9 points for these guys. And, like most of the Chinese volunteers, because that's basically what they are. They are Chinese volunteers made to take command of a platoon or something. And they have the same. They are 5 submachine guns and 1 power cutter. So it's really nothing special, but it's cheap and effective, and it kind of makes sense in that way, I would say.
Is this also the ready to play? Okay.
Yeah, this is also...
These remind me a little bit how they are made to look like a little bit like the old rubbery-dubbery.
Yes, and it actually looks like these... It's hard to tell, but these do look primed. I have to agree.
These look much more like the old version than the Japanese, because the IGN we opened were like... They had a different popping of the
the details are much more crisp. I do think these are still primed, and the heroes though, are they? How do you?
These look like they're new, ready to play. I think.
Yeah, so that could be the thing that, because I agree that these models also are very reminiscent of the older versions of the models, but with the new heads.
Yep.
Basically.
So
let's look at the heroes then. We got Professor Zoom, the Master Deceiver and Poison Master.
With a cape.
Very, very interesting. 8 points for this guy, 2-5 and 1, and also 5 hit points. He doesn't really have that much of weaponry. He has a small pistol and has a poison flask, which he uses in close combat. Still only does 1 damage, but has blast. So very interesting there. But the really interesting thing about him is his special skills. Master Deceiver. When this hero is on the battlefield, all enemy successful rolls for Get Moving You Bunch of Monkeys or Get Moving You Monster special actions must be re-rolled. So he really screws with the plans of the enemy. And the second is Poison Master. Professor Sun has poisoned the medical supplies of your opponent. As long as he is on the battlefield, your enemies can't use Get Up, It Ain't That Bad special actions. That is the medic special action. So he really screws with the opponent's plans and has to
It's like the Storch.
Yeah, in a way. But I think we're going to see this guy a lot, actually, just because of those annoying stuff.
It gives the PLA something unique, something special, something...
Definitely.
I know the twins had done it as well, but since they were almost like the only thing that made the PLA stand out against other armies. I think more of these things that can twist and turn things around. I think that's very, very interesting.
I agree. I really like that it seems like they're going that way with more specific and exclusive skills for the different factions, not only within the blocks but in the different factions inside the blocks. And of course you have the little detail of his full name, which is Professor Sum Ting Wong.
Yeah, I just something seems wrong with him. No,
Yeah.
but there's no range on either the Master Deceiver or
No,
the,
it's just he just has to be on the battlefield. That's it. So you can put him inside a bunker in the other edge of the and he just screws with everyone.
Yeah.
So yeah, that could be really, really annoying. Then we also got Commissar Poon. We've seen him before. He's an old favorite. And something that's new for this is Master Yuk, Steel Guard inside the PLA. So, but he is part of the PLA faction, not the Guard faction. 17 points for this, so definitely. But he is a Steel Guard, so it makes sense.
Yeah, and he's got some really good skills.
He does. First off, he got an assault shield, meaning that he has extra protection from close combat, and he is a master fighter, meaning that he is basically expert with all of his weapons. Applies to unit joined as well, which is just insane. So he just makes everyone in his unit expert with everything they carry. Yeah. That's
So
just
put him with the anti-infantry squad.
yeah. And his weaponry is an autogun. We've seen that before with the Steel Guard, but something we haven't seen before is the Tesla Club.
Yeah.
This is a close combat Tesla weapon, which has 3 dice for Soldier 1 and 2, 2 dice for Soldier 3, and 1 on Soldier 4, and of course the Tesla rule.
Well, yeah, it really, really turns me inside out. This one, it's a beautiful model. I got so good vibes when I first saw it, with all the thing and the Tesla Club and everything. I just like, this I'm gonna play, but unfortunately I didn't see that Master Fighter before, and then I just like, I hope this fails epically, because this, otherwise, if this one is as good as that card sounds, this will be an automatic inclusion, and this will be people whacking off against SSU and telling, once again, you will have
really,
to...
the thing is basically the sort of, as I see it, the saving grace. It's two things. I mean, 17 points.
Yeah, but
it's 17 points for one model, and if you want to put him with, for example, the anti-infantry squad, that squad will be insanely good, but it will also be 35 points. That's
How
a
many
lot.
lives? Four. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
And
So
this
you
guy,
need a lot too.
this guy is the PLA factions. You will not be able to run him with other guards and still keep the faction bonus.
So in that case, if you want to think of it in that way, if you run him with other guard, which are all in the guard faction, except for some.
You lose those 10 points.
In that case, it's basically 27 points.
Yeah.
And then I get frustrated as well, because then that one is just the PLA, of course. But then I still contradict myself, because I wanted the PLA to get something new, something special, something good. So then I go, but it provokes me, definitely. Because I want to be, as soon as I see a Steel Guard, I want to play it. But it's just like nowadays, I never bought that squad, which I don't even want to mention. So because I don't feel like it's...
The unmentionables.
Yeah, it's not fun playing them, because they are constructed the way it is. They are, language is going out the window. Why did they have to go and do something like that? That. Just when I think they made everything all right, they do. Sorry. Take the next one.
Yeah, but I don't know. He will be a beast in many cases. But again, I think that the points total, if you add him to another Steel Guard unit, that you put a lot of eggs in that basket, and they are still Steel Guards. He's not faster in any way.
No.
So
And we have seen also, we had sort of the similar reaction back when we first saw Guaylo.
Yeah.
And he didn't turn out as bad as we thought he would be. And it could be the same for this. We just have to play with it and against it in order to see.
But also, there were a lot of, at least in the Swedish play community, there has been a lot of bad negative vibes about Guaylo. So a lot of people, I don't think, play him because they don't want to hear that whining that some people do just because they want to face him. So I don't know, but it's just I don't think it's the Guaylo has gone to grace yet. I mean, he's still.
That's fair point.
But okay, yeah. But perhaps he will now that this one has emerged. That people will say, "Oh, couldn't you at least play Guaylo?" And oh, so I'm happy you only have Guaylo in your army. I don't know. But no, Guaylo is still also PLA, isn't he? Or she?
No, he's still guard.
Yeah.
Yeah, still with the guard.
Yeah, he's in the guard
so
faction.
He's in the guard
for
faction,
some reason, or it's described on the card as a Chinese, so you could suspect it could be. Well,
it is possible that they do something like that further on, but
story-wise, from the lore, he is Chinese.
Yeah, that's
definitely.
at least what I.
But he belongs
totally
in the guard faction game-wise.
Yeah, because then now it's turning out that all the guards, the Steel Guard heroes, are turning out to be Chinese. Why? There should be some Russians as well. Or something.
Yeah.
I don't know. What about the new starter box guy?
Yeah, well, isn't that a big?
I'm pretty sure that
PLA marker on it.
It is. It definitely is PLA.
Yeah.
But if I recall correctly, isn't it?
No.
No, that is no.
No, it's even worse. It's a guard one.
Yeah, it's a
okay,
guard.
sorry.
And his name is
Kowalski.
Yeah, so I don't think he's Chinese.
Definitely not.
I don't know.
Getting.
There's probably some Chinese guy named Kowalski.
It's like that thing that George Carlin said. You never see a really big, tall, fat Chinese guy with red hair.
Might happen, might exist. You don't know.
That's basketball player if he puts some weight and dyes his hair. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
Oh, more
right. Let's check.
Okay.
The next one is the Mythos HQ
Oh,
box.
I don't want to touch this. Okay, so what are you doing? You're making me touch Mythos. I have to put my mittens on or something.
We've talked about these.
Gloves or something.
We've talked about these guys before, back when we talked about the Hellgate book. And the Cultist Command Squad, these are only 7 points, but they are also a very specialized unit, since they are the only command squad that you can really use with the monsters in the Mythos squad, because they do have, as of themselves, they don't really have anything special, except the Psychic Choir skill, which allows a high priest to use its 2 special actions to be used on Mythos creatures at a distance. And that is what you combine with Rasputin. He is the high priest and is able to heal and reactivate Mythos creatures. If you combine him with the command squad, he can do it at a distance. And that is just any distance. It's not restricted in any way. And this could just be a big turning point I could see for the Mythos.
I see this as super interesting gameplay wise. At the moment, I don't really have any intentions of playing the Mythos. But this combination here, I mean, it's a super cheap command squad, but it's sort of limited at what it can do by themselves.
Yeah.
So, and if you want to use that combo, you really have to combine Rasputin with this squad.
Yeah.
Meaning it will be a lot more points, but you can then do a lot of things. The thing is, with Rasputin, maybe you don't want to have him hang back, because he can actually do some nasty stuff up close.
Definitely.
So it kind of creates a really interesting, some interesting choices on how you want to use him. Do you want to really put him with this choir and do it that way? Do you want to have him run around by himself? I think these are really good units, both like good for the Mythos, but also good as a whole gameplay wise, because it creates more decisions, more interesting moments.
Yeah. Thank all the strange gods out there that that they made the change for cheat death. Because actually, remember, if he were cheat death as old and all these and damage resilience and everything on it, it would just because
he's a tough guy and he would be just
he blasts
insanely
everything
good.
up. I mean, anything he comes in contact has to re-roll their saves as well. So he walks through a tank, a level 4 or level 5 tank. He just walks right through it. And okay, he's the high priest. He's the big mother, but since they also have he will be flanked by a lot of the big creatures.
Yeah.
So it's not like they need to have a tank destroying super priest going straight through tanks.
Yeah.
But, I mean.
But still, he still only has so many actions. So what does he want to do with them?
Definitely.
Do you want to use it on the big monsters, or do he use them offensively himself?
Yeah, but that's the interesting thing about it, because that's what the Mythos as a block has lacked up until now. It's that flexibility. Now you get the choice. Do you use him for his skills, or do you use him for his weaponry?
Yeah.
And just the opportunity to have that in order to reactivate or repair or heal in this case.
Yeah, that's one of the thing. When I played against Mythos, I've kind of almost always felt like I know what they are going to do next.
Yeah.
It's sort of easy. It has been sort of easy to read them. Okay, they have to activate this next, and then they have to do this next. But now, yeah.
Well, also, someone has to be the pessimist, the downer, and everything. This also seems, even though how you want to use him, that's one thing. But it's definitely an auto-eclosion if you play in a tournament, if you're a Mythos player.
Oh, yes.
If you don't play that combo, whatever you do with it, you don't play for win, I would say. Especially the way Mythos is constructed as an army. So, unfortunately, when you go to Poland, if you face 5 Mythos players, you will probably face Rasputin every single time. Good if your army can handle him, and if you can handle Rasputin, you don't care.
The thing is, over here we have a Mythos player, so you can answer directly. These together, the command squad and Rasputin, they are 18 points. Yeah, and the big monsters are pretty expensive. Especially if you want to play that platoon. You don't have too many points left. How would you feel about this? Now, if you put this combination in your army, you will have to take something out, have even less infantry.
Yeah,
which
so
are the units that can.
And that is the real interesting, because the way that you have to go into making an army for the Mythos is just that, what you say. Either you focus on the big heavy monsters, or you focus on 1 or 2 of the monsters and then the rest infantry, and you have to make that decision, but depending on what the type of scenario you're using.
So I guess what I'm saying here is,
of course, you want to use him with a lot of monsters, but then if you only have him and nothing else as infantry, if you're going up against scenarios that require you to capture points and stuff, you're basically screwed if they die.
But I can I can destroy your argument a little bit, because he's 11 points, and even in a 100 points army, he's the fraction bonus. So he's not taking away any points from your army, and so for the composition of your army, he's already there for free. You pay 8 points for this combo for your 100 point army, and I a little bit suspicious that we won't end up in the small points totals in Poland next time for the championship that we did this year. I think they will up the ante one more, and I think we're up in 140 or something when we go to Poland next year. And then almost you can have him and another hero for free, and still have the 140 points or 120. He's free for 120 as well. And they were 125. So
it's
like
what I was saying is just that this eats from your points total, no matter how big it is, which means you are going to have less of something. So
you
still interesting decisions.
You will have him instead of another hero. And the other hero will still be an infantry hero, so you will combine, because there's no monster heroes yet.
But speaking about other heroes, there are 2 more heroes in this box that we should talk about. You got Ekaterina Sabertooth. We talked about her as well back when we talked about the book.
Yeah.
And she's really interesting. 6 points for this girl, 6 hit points as well. And a pistol and knife, and of course the saber-tooth bite. She's expert with both a knife and pistol, and a savage animal for the saber-tooth, so expert on everything basically, and also first strike. So yeah, and grapple as the same as you have with Tina for the MDAC. So yeah, this is a really cool thing, and of course also assassin. So you can just choose exactly where the damage goes.
And you touched on the thing that I just love to see on the tabletop, when she goes head to head with Tina and Diana. I want to see that matchup. I want to see them, the beasts just tearing in at each other.
Yeah. But this is your hero hunter.
Yeah.
Definitely.
And the way Tina and Diana actually can be as well, and has done in several scenarios.
Definitely.
Unfortunately against me as well. So I know exactly what
Why not make that a three-way pit fight between Tina Hyena, Jekaterina and Sabretooth, and Greg and Issy?
Yeah, definitely. Greg and Issy is such a formidable guys. Actually, spoiler alert, but you won't hear this probably before we play in Germany. I would so much love to put Greg and Issy, I've said it millions of times, into some infantry and use them as, just see what they can do, because I feel they can really, really put some hurt on boys.
Yeah.
And of course, they can also be backed up by the war dogs. I mean, that's that could be such a wonderful little.
Let the dogs out.
Sorry, just riff.
Just a reflex.
Yeah, couldn't stop myself.
Yeah, but in this case, it's a cat. So
Kind of a big cat, though.
Yeah, and then from the Guardians of the Galaxy, dogs out.
Right.
So, yeah, well, yes.
And finally, we have a new hero that we have not seen before. This is Farouk the Turk. He's the Sacred Dawn operative. 5 points for this guy.
Yeah.
He's an expert with his twin Thompson submachine guns. He also is fanatical, meaning he's immune to suppression, and he has killing spree, which is basically the laser rule.
Yeah,
so this is something that they really needed for their infantry, because the standard infantry is basically crap. So they needed some heroes to buff them up. This is a really good unit to just buff out the range output for the infantry.
yeah, maybe you remember last episode, I think it was, we got the question about this guy, if he is what they need or what they deserve, and I think it kind of hits both actually. I think he's a fairly simple guy, not too many special rules or crazy shenanigans from this guy, but he buffs up a unit with some extra wounds, and he can just follow them along, or you could use him like defensively if you need to stay at an objective or whatever.
Yeah, and I'd like to say a few things on these as well before we leave them. The first thing is that I feel like this last one really could do some interesting things. And he reminds me, of course, a little bit about Tito. And also, I feel that's also character, like I've been thinking about, why not put Tito in a squad? Because there's a little bit machine guns, there's some wounds, it's only 5 points. You can actually play Tito, I'm more and more accustomed to this thought now, without using his skills, and still feel that it's a nice, interesting way to boost your infantry ones. And no matter what type of infantry ones, because he is a mercenary, you can boost everyone on him. So I'm just so therefore I think this Farouk guy is just going to be killing it.
Yeah.
But one more thing, and that's just it coexists these 2 points, so to speak. If you are either a very good painter, or if you're playing some of those historical Cthulhu board games that's out there, I mean, the Houses of Mansion and Mansions, well, you know what they all call. I don't play. I play them if I have to, but I mean, then, and you don't buy this box, there's something seriously wrong with you. Because first off, the sculpts are super beautiful. Yeah. This was really popping. Every single little character. I could actually almost buy this box just to try to paint them. I will hate myself afterwards because I can't paint as good as these models deserve. But they really made me like, okay, I don't like this. I don't want them to exist. I would like them to go back to the other dimension. But God damn, they are beautiful models, and I would like to.
We didn't really mention that too much on any of these boxes now, but this new plastic, the details on that is just there. I don't know, it's fantastic.
Yeah, but I mean, the others were good, but all the miniatures, the sculpts, and I think most of them are done by this wonderful little guy, French, me and names, but he really churns out good models. I mean, the quality, his skill is just...
But that's also a point, because I don't think even if you consider yourself not that good of a painter, I think that you shouldn't be kind of dissuaded by the quality of these miniatures, because the more detail and the more quality there is in the miniature, I'd say that just makes it easier to paint. It's when it's dull and just big flat areas, that's much harder in my opinion.
Try to make something look good that really doesn't. I mean, to start with,
see it as the perfect canvas, basically.
I also wanted to mention and kind of shout out to all the sculptors of these. I don't know the names, but what I really appreciate is the sort of movement built into the models.
Yeah, there's a dynamism in the poses.
Yeah, exactly.
They're just not standing there. So
sometimes it's too much, when models look like they are doing some kind of crazy move or pose or whatever that doesn't look natural. But in most of these, it's just the right amount. It looks like they are not just standing there. It looks like they are moving, but they are moving like in a believable way, I guess.
Yeah. Gail Gaumont. If I pronounce his name right, I hope I do, because he deserves it so much. I'm in awe that he actually let me befriend him on Facebook. Actually, one of those, he seems like a little magician with his skills there. So I can't speak highly enough of these. And I really like, because I was negative about them in some ways, perhaps people think, but. And I don't feel no need to be positive about something. I say what I like. I say how I call it. But those miniatures, they challenge GV. I say in all aspects of the game. So
absolutely marvelous. So let's start looking at the the vehicles then. First off, we got the first. This is something that I know a lot of people, including me, have been waiting for a long time. This is the first of the E-tanks for the Axis. It's the E10 Hetza and Flammhetza. Yeah. Oh yes, this looks absolutely lovely.
And this is not the E-type, the Swedish lousy singer with the
No.
This is high stuff.
Yeah, and it's a very simple conversion. If you want, it's just the barrel basically that separates the two versions. So very, very interesting. It doesn't.
Detailed.
Yeah, it's very detailed. It's the same kind of very detailed plastic.
I mean, the touch of the plastic. I mean, just I'm brushing it with my finger, and
stroking it.
Yeah, I'm stroking it with my finger, and the sensation all through the skin is just. This is like, oh yeah. But I'm so happy I get to touch this before Mats does. I mean, this is like, I will always have this, whatever happens. He has those beautiful prints and he does all those beautiful things and he gets all those lovely toys, but I actually get to hold this and touch it before him. It's just, sorry Mats, it's just, it got personal. I love to see when you get 15 of these and... Oh, sorry. Yeah. Magnus, take it. I can't control myself.
Because that's actually a good point. I really love that we are starting to see this, because I still have that kind of vision of having these big tank battles with Axis versus SSU, and just a lot of tanks of different sizes and shapes on both sides. So stats-wise, if we look at the Hetza variant first, it's 11 points for this. Move 2, Mark Move 4, and Vehicle Class 4 with 6 hit points. It has an anti-tank gun with range 16, so it's basically a Jagdpanzer. And it also has the X7 missile, which wire guided. And it has the standard Axis machine gun. Overall, a simple, effective little unit. Definitely worth its 11 points, I would say. And what's really interesting is that you get 2 versions of the card as well. You get both the block version and the NDAC version. So you can use this in either a faction army or an NDAC army. But you also get the Flammhetza variant. And this variant, basically the same, but it's just swaps out the anti-tank gun for a range 2 flamethrower, and the price actually goes down a whole 3 points, down to 8. This is the version that I think I'm going to want to use.
Yeah, so this is basically the sort of lighter version compared to
the Tiger version.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly. And it still has the wire-guided missile at the top. And if you compare them, I mean, it was 10 points for the Tiger version. And what you gain there is basically survivability, because that's a vehicle 6 with more hit points, and this is just a vehicle 4. But if your main use for it is to be a sniper with the little... Yeah.
You can remove the missile.
Yeah,
you can shoot the missile and let it fly away. You can go like this. Okay, I'm having a bathroom break. Okay, I'll be back in 5. Wait, this is too much. Okay, I can't take it. Okay.
Yeah, this is a absolutely lovely little model, and just that you get everything just ready to put on the table, just put together. This is fantastic, absolutely fantastic, and I could see myself running like 2 or 3 of these.
Yeah, sure.
In an army, absolutely no problem at all.
Especially, I would say, if you want to run them as the flamer version, because then probably, I mean, they aren't that survivable, so they will probably need to be more than 1 at least.
So that's I think that's going to be my next project for the Axis is going to be this tank based with these and the Panzer.
I could see a nice sort of flamer theme.
Oh, that could be just bring the flame, bring the pain,
bring the fire.
Yeah, but still also like it's just like the that they. Well, you combine them with the Panzer IV.
Yeah.
Look, how good won't that look on the table?
Exactly, that's what I was thinking also.
Sorry, I need just a quick... I haven't glanced too much on these cards, so I'm sorry I'm holding up everything. But, I mean, it's... but it's still the wire guided. It's still just can't... You don't want to shoot with, okay? That's so... And it's a flame.
Yeah, so it does feel balanced in that way. And it's... vehicle 4 with 6 hit points, it doesn't take that much to blow it up, definitely. So, but yeah, if this is where they're going with the tank, if this is the quality that we can expect, then I'm not cautiously optimistic anymore. I'm very, very optimistic.
Well, yes, it's only 11 points, and I mean, if you really, really, really want to go at something, you don't mind firing that wire guided, because then you get at least 2 dice, and you sustain perhaps in the same way. Hopefully, at least, then you can shoot them both with an 8, and that's
it's absolutely awesome.
I'll do this.
Yeah.
Okay, you get that one, studio. You get that one. That's Daddy got new shoes.
Very, very nice. All right, now we have the Mercenary Decimator or Shredder variant.
Yes.
This is basically the standard M4 chassis, but with the Axis Prince Luther or Storm Prince turrets. That's basically, that's what it is. It's a really, really cool little walker. You more or less know what the stats of this is going to be. The Decimator, first off, this is 11 points for this. It's an artillery observer. It has an anti-aircraft gun. It has the heavy machine gun in the front and a heavy machine gun on a turret. So a lot of bullets flying around. I can see the mercenaries or basically anyone else using this as an like an anti-air unit, just air defender, infantry, anti-infantry units, and that's basically what I use most with these anti-air is mostly anti-infantry, to be honest, because they are really, really effective at that. Then, of course, you get the Shredder as well. This is 13 points, so 2 more points for this. And the difference here is that you lose the turret-mounted machine gun, and you swap out the big turrets there for the dual anti-aircraft guns, which are pretty nice as well. But you also gain the advanced reactive fire, which can be really cool.
And that's, I mean, weapon-wise, they are sort of similar, these two variants, but the big thing is basically advanced reactive fire.
Yeah.
And personally, I think that it's, I mean, 13 seems a little bit pricey.
I agree, actually.
But I guess it depends on how you use it. But the advanced reactive fire is a really good skill. I mean, you shouldn't.
It is situational, but it can be extremely powerful if you get to use it. So you shouldn't sneeze at it, definitely.
Yeah, personally, I really like it. I fairly often play when I play my allied army. I usually play with some of the walker, either like wildfire or what's the other rattler.
Yeah.
Which I like mostly because they have that skill actually, and I try to play them fairly aggressively, like putting them in a nice position, sort of forcing my opponent like. Okay, you have to deal with this now, and if you do it by moving over here, I will shoot you. So you have to do it some other way. I think it's a good. I mean, of course, it's good when you use it to react. It can really help you, but it's also good in that sort of passive-aggressive way. If you understand what I'm saying, you can sort of force your opponent to do something. To make a move that he would like to wait. You know, he don't want to do it right now, but you force him to do it.
And also, what's very interesting with this, since they have the M4 chassis or M3 chassis, it's that the now 4 life points on this one.
Yeah.
And that I think for the mercenaries should be very potent, because they haven't only had like type 3s before. Everything is so fragile. Okay, they have damage resilience on the other ones, but still, it feels like a lot of the mercenary stuff. This is now okay. You have the other ones as well, but this is a little bit. They're getting a little bit more resistance in their walkers, or a little bit more sturdy. And this is very, 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 very interesting. And of course, guys out there, if you manage to hear this before the tournament is over, there's actually a little detail over there. Yeah, this is a little. Thing that should say somewhere at least.
Yeah, so make sure that doesn't get away from you.
Definitely, because guys, we will bring this to Germany, to Berlin, and this will actually be a prize in Berlin from the Dust War Journals. So some lucky bastard will actually win this in Germany.
Yeah.
And it won't be me, unfortunately, but I will use it forcefully before.
Use it and abuse it.
Yes, definitely. Yeah. So it will be touched before you get it. I promise you, in every aspect of the words.
All right. So let's look at some of the re-releases from this wave as well, because it's all of this stuff is not just completely new. There are some stuff that's been re-released and stuff that hasn't been really available before. We have a new version of the Mercenary Justine and Company, the Mercenary chicks, the mechanic.
Yeah.
So it's basically the exact same unit but with new sculpts, and these are still looking really, really good, really detailed.
Definitely.
And we have the Heroes of Azocom for the Allies, and this is all of the classic heroes basically for the Allies. You got Chef, you got Priest, you got Rosie, you got Bazooka Joe, and you have Sergeant Victory. And that's really good because most of these were available in the old expansion boxes for the old version of the game, and those are either just out of stock everywhere or just unable to get your hands on. But here you can get all of them in one tiny little package.
Yeah. And since they're all in this ready-to-play models, you get hopes that they will have more details and more more details actually.
Exactly.
I don't know why I kept talking, but just the default mode. Sorry.
You also got the Mythos Migo Assault Squad. These are the same models that are available in the starter box, but now you can get them by themselves if you want to boost up your army there.
Yeah.
And then finally you also got the cultist, or rather the zombies for the Blutkreuze.
Yeah.
The Zombie Grenadier Squad. This is also one of those units that has been hard to get a hold of for a while, but now you can get them, and these are also quite powerful in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
And not to say too much about the zombies, we're going to get into that when we talk about
This is,
when we talk about it.
Yeah, this is an old unit, and
is.
We've talked about it several times before. And personally, I like it. Maybe it's slightly overcosted, but then again, there are some new cool stuff in this book.
Specifically for zombies.
It might be time to kind of review and revise your opinion on zombies and think about that for a little bit more.
Yeah, and I just like to go back a little bit, and I just like to look at this one, and I just like to say that 60% of the time, this wins all the times.
That's good to know.
Yes.
Now we only got 2 boxes left from this little haul here. Where do you want to start?
Yeah. Ooh, well, Magnus, any
Maybe save the biggest for last.
Right, so we start with the small but heavy box actually here. The industrial ventilation shaft. This is a new scenery kit. And I really like that they are finally getting away from the desert stuff. It's good that there are so many very, very nice, very detailed scenery kits. But it's very, very nice that we are finally getting some variety. And this is something that looks really, really cool and interesting. This is big, and I'm not sure, it's not really resin, it's not really plastic. It's like with the older, the other scenery kits they have. It's something in between, basically. It's not the standard plastic, but it's something else. And it does look really, really good, I would say. I mean, if you're talking about painting large flat areas, I know, Magnus, you are very kind of experienced in this area, trying to paint detail on flat surfaces. But if you look at this, you see that there are actually a lot of surface detail on this.
Yeah, they have structure on the surface, and this is just something that, this is like those walls are like fine malt whiskey or something. It's like
they look like real, like casted concrete. This is when you build concrete buildings. This is kind of how it comes out.
And you should know.
Yeah,
definitely.
And this is it's super nice, and it's gonna be.
You even get the different levels here.
Yeah, exactly. This is exactly how it looks like when you cast concrete in a real, construction site.
Yeah. So this, if you're painting this is basically easy mode.
Yeah. This is super easy to paint.
Base paint, and just some dry brushing, and you can just say it's done.
The only thing is not too thick a coat.
No, of course.
Because then you'd ruin everything, and then it would just, why did you buy it?
Definitely.
You have to be... But shouldn't there be a door, though?
There is...
did it just try and find it? Sorry.
Yeah, it was here somewhere.
Okay.
There definitely is a door.
Oh, good. Then...
Let's see. It's here some... There it is.
No, there it is.
There it is.
I get
super cool.
Yeah, and there's no rules cards or anything for this, but I think that we have seen some rules previewed for it. So I think there are going to, or there might be some in a upcoming version of.
I remember them saying something like they want. Unless it's just like a regular building, they do want something specific to be tied into these. And I think that's a good idea because it makes them more special, more fun to play with. And it's probably a good selling point as well because,
Yeah, definitely. Because if you are just going to put this on a table without any special rules, I mean, it does have one small little door, but it doesn't have any open windows or anything. So I would, if you don't say anything else, I would say this is just like an impossible terrain piece.
Yeah, and
that's it's unfortunate if that's the only thing it's going to be used for. because it can be a lot cooler than that.
And guys,
definitely.
holy beard of Zeus. Look at the dents in the door. They actually made some small imperfections in the door that makes... I mean, the door in itself is
Yeah.
just a piece of... I shouldn't say art, but it's like... yeah, well, it's art, actually. And now that I actually get to touch it and just feel and stroke it... And I mean, I was trying to be silly before when I was stroking the plastic on the E-tank, even though that was good. But just feeling that structure, and as you already talked about the lines and everything, but I mean, god damn.
Yeah, and
Just-
these small details you mentioned here on the door, they are actually also on the inside
Yeah.
of the door.
Yeah.
So,
So-
it's this is just I take my hat off because
This
and,
is such a step up.
yeah, and it doesn't matter what you do with it. If you use it as a piece for a special scenario, it works great. If you use it as just impassable terrain, it's gonna look super. Okay, it's gonna be expensive to buy 10 of these just to have them as impossible terrains pieces if you play one of those scenarios. But man, that would look so sweet. And also, you have this flat surface, so you can extend the building. This can be just the part of the building, or you can put it next to.
Or you can use
so
a
you-
pipeline, or
yeah,
there's
everything.
a lot of stuff you can
It's,
do here.
it's so smart of them because, of course, they have a lot of details on the other sides, and they have to have that on the side so you be interested in looking at it. But they leave one surface flat so you can attach it to a bigger building, a pipeline, more of these, or another type of concrete fence, perhaps. And these are like in the end of the big armored. I don't know. It's so good to see that they
Yeah.
don't hinder your imagination. And well, yeah.
It's going to be very interesting, definitely, to
Yeah.
see if they're going to expand this specific line of industrial-looking scenery bits.
Yeah, and this is a
because-
little bit spoiler alert, of course, but yeah, and just as you said, Johannes, the African houses and stuff they've done, or the Arabic houses, are just wonderful. But that one is definitely on my top one on terrains for this year when we go to like if we do yeah.
Spoiler alert for that. So now we got to the biggest and the heaviest box here, the
Yeah.
Steel Guard starter set for the SSU. And we talked a little bit about this one before the show, and this is weird because we've used to see the starter boxes like, well, it still follows the same sort
Concept,
of concept and mold. You got one hero, you got one infantry unit, and you got one walker. But we're used to see at least up to medium light walkers, but mostly light walkers. This one has a heavy walker, and it's also a heavy hero, infantry 4 hero, and it is an infantry 4 squad. So if you're going to do battles with just starter against starter, I'm not sure how that is going to work with this specific one. So let's go. We haven't actually looked at the stats or stuff like this before, so this is going to be really interesting. If we take that.
And of course, there's another little thing that Johannes ain't to mentioning. And this is the first starter where everything looks cool. Everything looks good. And this is just so. It's like, yeah.
That's just your opinion, man.
No, that's a fact. You know, there are Dyson Grayson says there's three type of facts. It's your own facts, the society facts, and the real facts. And this is just the real fact. These are just. This is not my personal opinion. This is not the society opinion. This is an opinion that's just true.
So let's look at the cards there. We got the hero first off, Karl Kowalski.
Yeah.
So what we got here? We have 8 points for this. That's cheap, definitely. I would say for
a little bit expensive
for
I
a
would say.
Steel Guard
I mean,
hero.
it isn't a Steel Guard. It should be 2 or something. So, yeah.
But this, I mean, both the hero and the unit here is something completely new for the Steel Guard.
Yeah.
If you just look at the standard stats for them, they don't look that different. I mean, it's a hero. He has the standard move 2, march move 3, and of course infantry 4. He's armed with 2 of these Tesla clubs that we saw with the other hero there. So just a close combat monster. He also has Berserk, so he just continues to wail if he gets ahead of him. He has the Assault Shield, so he can take a beating. But they're really interesting. Yeah, he also has smoke grenades. So
that is very interesting.
That is extremely interesting because you need these guys to get close in order to use them properly. And smoke grenades will help them to do that, to make their advance. And the other thing that really helps them is the fact that they have rocket packs, which means once per game, gain, fly, charge, and double move and march values for 1 turn only. So you basically march move them in 3, pop the smoke grenade so they can get into the position, and then next you activate the rocket packs and fly up and charge 6 and just pummel the shit out of whatever you hit. Really, really interesting there, I would say.
And it has Berserk. He keeps hitting, so he's probably hitting a few when he goes. And since he's doing the Teslas in close combat, you can't more or less save against him. He is insanely cheap in one aspect, but the thing is, you could actually have him running around the table all game and not hitting anything. So
it's possible.
I don't want to defend the SSU now too much, but I don't actually think he's too cheap. But now let's look at the plastic.
Yeah.
I personally agree with you, actually. I think it's very interesting.
Sorry, I was going to run that back.
I don't know. I can't really explain what happened. No, but seriously, he both the hero here and the unit, they bring something new to the Steel Guard.
Yeah.
Giving them like another dimension, basically. But they are still fairly predictable. I mean, he can do this. And that's basically all he does. He they can do some nasty stuff, but you sort of, as an opponent to these, you can kind of see it coming and prepare for it. So, yeah, they aren't that, flexible and versatile. They can't do too many different things.
Yeah.
So.
No,
I agree.
but they are insanely beautiful, and I will get this starter pack, and I will get 3 extra squads with these Batonga guys, so I can go loose in Batongaville.
Yeah.
And just do like.
And if we look at the squad that comes with it as well,
please do.
10 points for these. That's also pretty cheap, I would say. Very similar stats-wise. You got the assault shields, you got the rocket packs, you got the smoke grenades, you got the Tesla batons. So very, very similar here. I would actually probably say that if you are going to run these, I would not put these together. I would run them separately. Because you do have the smoke grenades, you do have the rocket patch themselves, so you actually don't gain much from putting them together, I would say.
Nah, but you don't have that too much power in the Teslas. And it's so important that usually, at least when you play Teslas, you need to wound. So you have to wound, and then you look. It's just one.
Well, but he does have. If he goes on,
doubles.
It's double. So it's 2 dice, 1 damage, and for these guys they have 3, so that's 3 dice.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, but it's not about hitting. It's about killing. You have to realize that, and that's the big thing with it. So, but this one, Magnus, head to head, these against hammers, I want to do it. Not today, but I want to really think about it.
One thought just popped into my head. Since both the hero and the unit have the smoke grenade skill, if you put them together, they should be able to use that skill 2 times.
Yeah, definitely.
I would probably... This is something that we haven't really discussed before, but I would say no. Because when you put them together, they combine into one unit and they still only have... They have that skill and they share it between themselves. But the skill itself says that the unit, that is the combined unit, can only use it once.
Yeah, that's a good question. We have to send a rules question to the studio.
And the same thing with the rocket pods as well.
But the smoke grenade isn't a rule. The smoke grenade has rules. The smoke grenade is a weapon line or something like that. So that
Well, it is a skill, but yeah.
I'm sorry, you're wrong. But it's okay. You're entitled to be wrong.
I think they should be able to use it 2 times actually, and
it does make thematic
here
sense.
it even has on the card. It even has a small tick-off box if it's used or not. The smoke grenade.
So that's another given. If you have a hero with a Panzerfaust, that's a tick-off box, and a unit with Panzerfaust with a tick-off box, you can still shoot it twice or once or something. You can do double smoke in 1 square or 4 squares if you want it, but why would you? I don't know.
Right, so that's the infantry.
Yeah, and then we come to the Walker. This is the Type 45, which is basically a modified version of the Babushka.
Or a modified version of the Type 45.
Whatever you want to say. The
Tesla Walker.
47.
Type 47,
Yeah.
Of course. Sorry.
Of course, there's a KV-3R, Heavy Gatling Walker, and the main weapon here is the dual Gatling guns with range 12. And it also has a twin heavy machine gun mounted on a turret. This is 13 points for this, meaning that the entire here is actually 31 points, which makes it point-wise more or less the same as the other starter boxes, which surprised me actually, because I expected the infantry to be more expensive.
Yeah. But since you don't only have 2 weapon lines and the infantry and the hero can't shoot, so you are disadvantaged until you get up close, of course.
Yeah.
And if it's just against another starter box, they don't have to worry too much that they are going to be too much fired upon before they get to where they're going.
Yeah.
So,
and,
but I mean,
most of the walkers in the starter boxes are really good at firing at the infantry. So that could be the kind of mitigating factor here. We'll have to try that out sometime and see.
Yeah.
And overall, I would say this is a fantastic starter box. I mean, it's just content-wise, it's amazing. We get something completely new for a faction that's been around for a while now.
But where's the little dude, man? Where's the dude?
He's probably around here somewhere. There's a lot of
things from
yeah.
him.
There's a lot of little stuff in
Give
this
it to
box
me.
here.
Yeah, of course, I have to have the machine guns. Oh yeah, baby! this pilot is just popping. This is a much better pilot than any one of they produced for anything. And this is a standard pilot. I could do him like a scenario or like a showpiece, just standing outside something as well. The details on the coveralls on the guy and the hat and everything, splendid, man, splendid. This is just yeah, baby, yeah. I hope they say, please sell this pilot separately, please do. I need at least 5. It doesn't get old, that pilot. You can place him outside the walker if you're just doing a scenery piece with this, or you want something else for your base of the walker, and you can definitely him in an IS tank or something like that. It would do my day. It would do my.
It's the same with this guy as with the other new infantry. You can just see the difference in the details. It's so crisp.
I've been waiting for this starter now for 3 or 4 years when we first heard about this, but that's why I'm not rushing out of this out of the picture right now. But I mean, seriously, this is just what I wanted from these guys. And the poga stick jumping Russian steel guard super guys with Tesla clubs. This is
Yeah, so that is that's a lot of stuff to go through, but there's we're more or less speechless just about the quality we see in these boxes, and I think everything here is going to be released this year, so very very soon. If it's not now at the end of November, it's going to be like in December. So this is stuff that you are going to be able to have in your hands very, very soon.
Yeah, or in your Christmas stockings. If you use
Definitely,
that thing.
definitely.
Oh man, yeah.
All right. Whew, so that's that was quite a haul. So let's go over to mail call. We actually have some interesting questions that we are going to stick our feet into, or whatever you want to say.
We'll stick anything anywhere. After this, you can stick anything anywhere. I don't know.
Oh, is that an invitation?
I'm open for everything. I'm open for this box. I'm open for baby.
All right. So let's go over to mail call then. And first off, we got a question from Brian Keith Younes, which is mostly focused on dustified units. And as we kind of told you in our previous episode, we are planning to do our next special episode all about dustified units. So I think we're going to save this discussion of this question for then. But we also should say that we promised that the Dustified special was going to be our next special. That has now kind of been suspended for a little bit for some weird reason. But that doesn't mean that it's not coming. It's just that it's going to take a little while longer than we thought it was going to take. So that said, we could mention the final thing that...
the war?
No, that Brian says that how he does when how do you use it when you create your units? And we kind of agree and think mostly the same way here. And I think, Magnus, you're the one that's basically been rowing this boat for us, I would say.
I don't know. I've been kind of gathering the information and actually putting together the cards in the end, doing the numbers and the graphics. Well, Brian writes here that he kind of he asks himself if this weapon or vehicle or unit or whatever has something similar in the game already. If that's the case, he uses those stats. He wants to use existing special rules before making up new ones. Look for similar units to kind of get the correct point costs. And in the end, ask yourself, do you want to play with and against this unit? And that's more or less at least how I think as well. But I also think it's very important to look at the for the cards that we've done, most of them, I would say at least, they are like real historical vehicles that we want to use in the game. So I always kind of start with looking at that and working from that. But then, it's more or less the same as he says. And we will get back to this in the special episode in detail.
But that's the basics of it.
That's how we skip a question. This is how we do it.
Yeah, but at least
some
kind of answer to Brian. Brian deserves to get an answer.
Oh, yeah. But Brian deserves so much. He's going to get it. No?
All right. Next question comes from Jeff McKeon. With the release of the upcoming E-Tanks for the Axis, would you like to see more classic World War II modified vehicles in the game? Also, would you like to see generic vehicles for use with multiple factions, such as trucks or transports? Yes, please.
Yeah.
I actually think that last sentence, that's kind of interesting. Some generic, not really mercenary, but generic vehicles that everyone can use. Just a big flatbed truck, basically.
Yeah, definitely. Transport trucks. I mean...
with no weaponry, but just transport ability, or maybe just one little machine gun. Something like that.
Or that can be extra as well. You can be add-ons for them. But and if you have those trucks where you transport soldiers on just the back of them, I mean, they can fire from those. So it's,
of course,
you don't need the machine guns. And it's just please come on.
Well, I don't actually think that the studio would make something like that, though. I don't think, because it's not that beer and pretzels cool factor. It's more the kind of older gamer kind of thing. I don't think that's the thing that sells
at least
models.
up until now, the studio they produce dust models, and like regular truck isn't really a dust model, if you know what I mean. It's not dustified.
No, that's so true.
So
that's so true.
I have to say that I don't think they will do something like that. At least, not at the moment, I would say.
No, because they can't dustify it if they don't.
It's not special enough, if you know what
they
I
have
mean.
to do like a Tesla truck or something like that, or a Phaser
very
truck
good,
or something.
a very good,
a
very good analogy is just the trucks for the Desert Scorpions, because they are very specialized. They are not just normal trucks. They have something that is very dust about them.
They do.
Like a regular truck with no or almost no weapons is kind of the antithesis of dustified.
That's so true. That's so true.
But then again, to answer his first question, I would say still yes, because like we said before, I personally enjoy reading about World War II, and I enjoy the history and all that it entails. I find it very interesting, and I like many of the tanks from all the factions. Basically, I really like those historical vehicles. So I would like to see more of them, and that is a big reason, at least for me, why we do these dustified cards ourselves, to be able to play with those historical vehicles.
But I still think they can do like a special line of them on the homepage. So you have to order them specially from the studio or something like that, with just at least one generic truck, because that could be a scenery thing. They can do rules for it, they can have scenarios with it, and if they do some generic rules for it for every faction, every army, they can. I think they could sell enough if they do it like we have to order them directly from them. Then it's not the main line, but it's the the special line actually.
That
I think
could be a possibility.
Elite's exclusive. I was thinking about. I'm sorry. Yeah.
All right. So our next question comes from Greg Boisbelot over in the US. What pushes you to buy in your local shop or online? Well, that's more of a generic question. I mean, for us specifically, what pushes us? I mean, I think we mostly buy online. But that's basically because we don't really have a local shop that carries dust. That's the problem. And we do have Martin over at RSL Gaming that has taken in some stuff, but it's still a small amount, and it's not. It doesn't have any shelf presence in Sweden, unfortunately. The game. No. So we work mostly online. Unfortunately, I wish there was more. Store presence, definitely, but it's difficult to get that. It's a very hard market.
Yeah, well, and I don't feel it like it's just a dust question from George. It's I think it's just more like, why do you go to the store, or why do you buy online? And in that aspect, I like to say it's about it's about the support you get, and the way you treat it. I mean, there's nothing that beats that feeling, going and touching the box or looking at it, turning it around, talking about with the retailer about it, and perhaps getting some cool thoughts and anecdotes and stuff like that. So it depends very much about the personnel. I mean, I wished that the sci-fi store that we have here in Gothenburg, which is the greatest store there ever is, or for guys like us, I would say, they are so wonderful, because those guys in there, everyone just are so unique as a character. So and they have their experts on everything. Unfortunately, for some reason, they haven't picked up dust. But I mean, like, you can really go into stuff with them, and you can really ask them for advice about paints and how to do layering and everything. They know everything. It's at least one. Okay, I don't know this, but I will fetch the one you're looking for. And so that's to me, have nice persons in the store who really draws you there, because
that's so important. I agree.
It's I don't know. It's a sort of. a question of kind of trust a bit for me as well, and I like going into a brick and mortar store to purchase, because if there is any kind of problems or if you have any questions, there's somebody you can ask. When shopping online, you can't really do that, and if it's a problem, maybe you have to send stuff back, or you have to contact them and they will need to send replacements and stuff like that. It's I don't know. I prefer the brick and mortar if possible. Having said that, sometimes I order stuff online, of course, because that's sometimes the only way you can find it. And if I go to the store and something is out of stock and I really need it, it depends on what it is, of course, but let's say I'm painting something and I run out of a paint and I need to have that paint as quickly as possible. I go down to the store and check, and it's not in stock, so what am I going to do? I can either wait for that, or I can just order it online, and I will probably order it online.
To me, it's only the price or the availability that makes me go online. Otherwise, it's just... it's just like, how going into your hobby room before the show, and you have a few unopened boxes in there. And to me, it's like I was just in that store mode, actually, and I was just like, oh, I want to touch this, I want to squeeze this, I want to turn this around, I want to... Do you want to buy it? Do you want to sell me this, or do you want to sell me that? It doesn't matter. No, and I was like, wait a minute, a little bit. You're not here to buy stuff. You're in his apartment. You have to like take a step down, it's like back here. But it was like just, and it's almost the same feeling when you see all these boxes in front of us. Like it doesn't, having that possibility to have that squeezability.
The squeezability factor is very important. I agree. Right, and next question from Greg. What is your favorite unit, hero, vehicle in each block? That's a big one. I think we have to kind of narrow it down a little bit, because we're going to be here all night otherwise. But I think this is something that we might get back to when we have some time to prepare. But just spontaneously, if you're going to say just one favorite in
every block?
But like in two of the major blocks, let's say.
Two of the major blocks?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So, I can start because I have an easy one. If we go with the Axis, this might be new and shiny syndrome, but I'm just fallen completely in love with the E10 now. I just want to run around in the field with them. So the E10 and the Axis, that is one of the most interesting releases they've done in a long time for me.
Yeah, well, I can't limit myself though, because I just keep them popping up in my head. But because we talked about them also, of course, Sigrid is like the favorite one of every Axis hero. There are a lot of good Axis heroes out there, but of course Sigrid is Sigrid, and it's just every sculpt of them is just they, of course, they're getting better with time, but the quality and stuff. But she's just and then of course Rosie, as we've talked about. It's just, she's my gal. I can't pronounce it, but so those are just so super quick. But then, of course, we have talked about the Babushka, since we already, and the Matryoshka, those walkers, this type, the Ludwig chassis, of course, not by name, but by design. The hot dog. The hot dog is just so, whoa, what a vehicle. I can go on all night, but okay, Magnus, say something.
Yeah, there are so many cool things. My favorite unit, or units, maybe I should say, I have to go back. I mentioned this before, and it's the heavy Axis infantry guys.
Of course.
I think they are super cool looking, and for me they are very iconic. They were one of the first Dust models, like when I started out. And like you said, all the classic Walker chassis. My personal favorite is still the Jagdluther. That's slightly more how would you say, it looks a bit different from the Ludwig. It's kind of more similar to the SSU Walkers, but still not exactly the same. And I really like that kind of sloped armor. It looks super cool.
Yeah, I think for me, if we're talking walkers, I just have to mention the Pounder. That's just it's just a classic. It is really a classic. You just get that kind of dissonance when you look at it, because it's familiar and at the same time really, really weird because it is basically a tank on legs.
Yeah,
that's what it
definitely.
is.
On chicken legs.
Yeah, but honestly, that is the vehicle that got me into Dust.
Yeah, I hear
and
you.
I think a lot
hear
of
you.
people feel the same way because
definitely.
that's something that you see and you don't, like we said, you don't unsee.
I just also want to give a quick mention because I don't feel nowadays she doesn't get as much prop as she should have. But like the old Laura, I so wish they could do a resculpt of her with a little bit more agility, with a little bit more movement in her poses. She can be just the same. Jewels wise, I mean that's just awesome, and the armor and everything. But I'm just getting a feel like she with a little bit more, even more dynamic pose with the plastic new sculpting. That could be so badass.
I would just love a little bit, going back and for the studio to go back and kind of focus a little bit on the heavy infantry again, doing a couple of resculpts of stuff and one or two new releases to keep things fresh.
Yeah.
That would be amazing.
Really
Yeah,
cool,
definitely.
yeah.
It would work for the new guys, and it would be a nostalgia for every old ones.
Right. Our next question comes from John Kellogg. How do you feel about the way the Dust Studio announces the releases? They post pictures and show amazing minutes, but then it's years before they progress to the next step. Well, yeah, that can be disheartening in a way. But they also kind of sneak stuff up on you from time to time.
And also, I loved when they produced pictures with minis that perhaps even still hasn't been shown or even released. And I was that there are a bigger universe. You get to see a glimpse. I don't need to have everything here and now. I think I love the fact that I have to wait for some things. It gets a little bit more special to me. But I'm getting older, so I'm perhaps more like it's okay to wait.
I think they're doing a really good job actually. Some things they are showing very early on, like on events when they are doing their presentations. But at that time, it's also mostly like renderings or just artwork and stuff like that. So you don't see the finished product. I mean, they aren't. At least I'm guessing they aren't like producing stuff and just waiting forever until they are releasing it.
No.
That would be just weird.
Yep.
So I think it's a good way to sort of build hype, but also I think it's a sort of way for Paolo to kind of interact with the community. He's showing his work or the studio's work and letting us know what's happening to be a part of it. So I feel more involved when I see these concept arts and these early renderings and stuff like that. So
Definitely.
I really like it.
And
I think it's a good way.
And I think that that is one of the reasons why they do it, just to involve the community.
Yeah.
So to gauge the response, to get comments and maybe tweak things between just how people react. And we've seen that. I mean, we know that there is a Königs Wotan coming up. And there was this moment when Paolo just stretched out his hand to some parts of the community and said, how do you want this to look? Do you want it to look this way or this way? And then just there was a discussion. Yeah. And now we see, it's turned out to it's going to look this way. And this is kind of the same part. That was very open and direct with how they do it. But I think they do this all the time without us knowing about it.
Yeah. And I really like when they do pre-release of stuff. So I like to say it's not a spoiler thing, but in it that we will discuss later, there is a very fishy kind of picture, and that's not even in the books or it. And I love it because once it's a beautiful artwork, it just I couldn't stop looking at it. The second of it just turned me into I haven't given too much care about that, which is pictured in the in that picture. But when I saw that picture, it actually started a longing for me to see it released. Yeah. Even though I don't want it, I don't need it. I think it's abomination. Sorry, I'm getting too many clues out now. But I mean, that picture, my journey has started.
Yeah.
So,
but it is a little bit annoying that we are now getting the next expansion book, but before everything that was presented in the last book is actually released. Because the Spawn of Shub-Niggurath was actually in the Hellgate book, and those haven't been released yet.
Yeah,
we haven't even seen scalps for them yet.
yeah.
So that's a little bit annoying. I understand that.
Strange.
So yeah, but I'm guessing
we
that
have to
might
remember
take
that
it,
the
so.
Dust Studio is still a fairly small company, and
of
they
course.
have limited resources compared to others. So.
Yeah.
I'm sure they have a plan, but I'm also fairly sure that the plan will be revised and changed fairly frequently because of stuff happens.
Oh yeah.
So that's just the way it is, basically.
Yeah.
And I also I want to come back to something that you said, Luda, that they mix it up.
Yeah.
Which is also a very good thing to keep those, surprises here and there. Something we haven't seen suddenly pops up. It keeps everyone on their toes, basically. And I think this is a very good way to do it. I'm not sure how Games Workshop do it these days. I remember a few years back when they sort of changed it to, not release any information at all right until the product was released, and I thought that is not a good idea to do it.
They don't really do that anymore.
You want to build hype. You want to build.
Yeah.
You want to get the community discussing things.
They do fake leaks and stuff like that. It's hysterically if you look at it seriously, but
Okay,
it
fair
works.
enough.
It works super good for them. But of course, so
that's a good way to do it in multiple levels, basically. So
yeah, definitely.
I'd rather see information too early than too late.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, well, we can talk about that actually all day. We just, and of course there will be people who know its contest before they read it. There are a few, but if you then delve into that and don't get surprises, then where are you coming from? what planet are you from? I mean, it's well, I'm not saying anything more. I'm moving right along.
Yeah, second question from John. Any plans to come stateside? Adepticon usually hosts a 2-day dust event. Yeah, we are aware of that, and we really, really would like to go there. It's at some point, definitely. There are no concrete plans, unfortunately, but we definitely want to. So next year is probably out of the question at this point in time. So maybe we're looking at 2021. We'll just have to wait and see.
Yeah, unfortunately, we had high hopes, at least, and I was really, really ambitious. Unfortunately, I crashed in the summer, basically, no hiding about that. And then, luckily for me, my working place situation has changed drastically, but also by being a better working place environment at the moment, I've also, unfortunately, gotten a lot of cred, so I've had a lot of new tons of work. So now I'm just super crazed, and I don't know if I'm gonna have my own 5 minutes without except for this Berlin thing. So it's like, see you in 10 years, baby. I mean, it's crazy.
Yeah, we'll have to see. The will is definitely there.
Yeah.
We just have to somehow work out the details.
Absolutely.
Definitely.
And our final question from this episode comes from Emil Persson. And it's not really a question, it's more of a suggestion. And the suggestion is upper hand, Pershing 2 versus Tengu.
Yeah, sure. Why not?
Absolutely.
Let's do it right now.
Let's go. Go for the upper hand. Round 1, fight! So we got the Super Pershing versus the IJN Tengu. Well, first off, it's I won't say it's maybe that fair of a fight because the Super Pershing is a specialized dustified unit that not everyone is going to be able to use.
And it's not the exact points. If we're gonna be a little bit harsh on things, it's not okay to have two.
Well, they are the same battlefield role, and they have similarly enough stats. So I would say it's fair in that respect.
Hey, you're the king, man.
Yeah. So let's start with first off, what do we think of these? We got a walker for the Tengu versus a tank for the Pershing. Well, It's quite obvious. Walkers are just more versatile. It's just better in that respect.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't really get around that.
No.
It's much easier to maneuver with a walker.
Yep.
Yeah, maybe we should. I don't know if you mentioned it. The exact points costs for them.
Yeah, we should. The Tengu is 20 points and the Super Pershing 2 is 23. So there is a sizable difference. It's a noticeable difference.
Yeah.
Definitely. But then we look at the movement stats. Move 2 for both, but March Move 4 for the Tengu versus March Move 5 for the Pershing.
Yeah, and I actually I think that didn't sink in too much to me when we talked about the Super Pershing, that it's actually a March move of 5.
Yeah.
That is actually quite extreme for a tank this big. So you can easily reposition it if it's in the wrong place, and also that with the turret.
Yeah, but the Allied tanks, they tend to have the 2.5 speed, so it's kind of normal for the Allied tanks.
Yeah, but we don't see so many Allied tanks. So I think it's all. To me, it's just the M4s that go 3.5, and that's okay. I got that in the bag. But
yeah, but you have the normal Pershing and you have the Wolverine tanks.
But we seldom see them, almost never.
Yeah,
that's just the fact. So,
that is true.
Yeah, it's true. That is. Don't pick up me like that.
And actually, I'm thinking also kind of related to the movement, like the speed of them, and also the walker versus tank aspect. That the Super Pershing is a large vehicle, so that also makes it slightly more difficult to maneuver and to hide and stuff like that.
Well, it's actually kind of a double-edged coin there, because it means that you can also hide half of it in cover.
The new cover rules.
So you actually have an easier time to get cover for it
Yeah.
in certain situations.
At least one square must be in cover, and that's also what the Tengu needs, at least one square. So there's really no positive about being a large.
But
yes, it is, because you have several choices. If you with a Tengu, you only have one choice if there's a tree in the middle.
You can leave the trunk outside the trees, you know. So it's visible.
I see what you mean, but
it's a
shoot around corners.
It's probably a very slight advantage, but it's still. I think it is an advantage that you should take into account.
Yeah. Which would be removed in the near future. I'm just saying. But okay.
So let's look at the durability of these. The Tengu is a vehicle 4 with 8 hit points versus the Pershing is a vehicle 5 with 7 hit points. And here's where we really get into the interesting details. 8 hit points for a vehicle 4 is quite a lot. We've seen that. And at the same time, I mean, is there really that big of a difference here?
No, but because they need to hit twice to kill each other.
It kind of balances out?
No, because the Tengu, if it shoots twice, it gets 4 dice, and the Super Pershing it shoots twice and it only has 2 dice. So the Super Pershing has to be on target all the time, so to speak. It has to be 100% correct. 60% of the time it has to kill every time.
But just speaking about the armor 5 and 7 damage, or armor 4 and 8 damage, it's fairly similar. It's not that big of a difference, but I would still say that armor 5 with 7 damage is slightly better, because most weapons tend to I mean, they do less damage against armor 5, so...
there are kill stats on level 4, so it's...
there are some... Not too many will instantly kill an armor 5 vehicle, but there are a bunch that can instantly kill an armor 4 vehicle. So I would still give the upper hand here to the Pershing in terms of durability. It's not by much, and it's also, of course, depending on situation.
Of course.
But yeah...
So if we look at the offensive capabilities, then if we look at the weaponry, the Tengu has, of course, the big railgun. It also has a standard machine gun and a dual machine gun. Versus the Pershing, it has the big heavy phaser gun. It also has 1 heavy machine gun and 2 smaller machine guns. The difference here is the big dual machine gun for the Tengu is definitely more powerful than the heavy machine gun for the Pershing. So the amount of dice for the shootout at infantry is almost about the same. It's the Tengu is not as versatile. You can fire all the different machine guns at different units if you really want to. I don't think there's that many situations where you would want to. You would normally want to focus down something, but you have that opportunity. So I would say that just if you look at the machine guns, then the Pershing has the advantage there. But if we compare the main guns, we have this classic, we talked about this a lot, railgun versus phaser. I mean, the big thing here is, of course, we got range, unlimited for the railgun, range 14 for the phaser. It's a long range, but it's still limited. There are some situations where this is going to kick in. But the big difference is, of course, that the Tengu fires 2 dice versus just 1 if we're looking at just shooting at vehicles here, which is what basically this is for. So other than that, they are fairly similar stats wise. I mean, the railgun just removes every type of defensives, and the Pershing has a phaser, so that removes cover, which in most cases, if you're firing at a vehicle, is the same thing. So it's 1 dice versus 2, and in that case, of course, I prefer 2 dice. I prefer to do some damage instead of having the risk of doing no damage.
I'm totally off topic, unfortunately, because I'm sitting here thinking, well, if something does more than 6 damage when it shoots, shouldn't it be allowed to re-roll the critical hit effect at least, or something like that? Or perhaps that should be a new phaser add-on, since we have we have the 3 dice for the railgun, and we don't want to be similar. But what about re-rolling the critical effect? Because this, I mean, the Pershing is to be like the Super Pershing, at least it should be like the big burn a hole in things. Like I'm just sorry. So I'm a bit off topic here.
To pitch it to Olivier.
I think I just did. You know?
Yeah, but
it's
an interesting comparison between these two of the guns, and like you say, the machine gun definitely. The upper hand definitely goes to the Super Pershing, in my opinion, because it's has the most versatility, and also 3 of the 4 weapons on the Pershing are turrets.
Yeah, that is a very big point, actually. If you compare that also with the movement, I mean, the Tengu, since its main weapon is front mounted, that means that there are some positions where you can outmaneuver it very easily. You have to move it in order to get it into firing range. That might not be the case for the Pershing in the same situation.
So yeah, the railgun is obviously better and like more powerful than the phaser, but it's front mounted on the Tengu, so slight disadvantage in that respect. So it's a very interesting comparison, and if I had to choose between these two, which I do now because we are doing this upper hand, I'm gonna say I would prefer playing the Tengu, and that comes down to that big main gun. And again, like I've said before, in different situations, not always because it will destroy things, but because of the threat it poses. Like if you manage to place this in a good position in cover somewhere, people don't want to move out in its line of sight. Yeah, because it will destroy things.
Yeah, I'm totally with you there. I'll go for the Tango in the upper hand scenario. It would probably be more likely that I will get a Super Pershing 2 before I get the Tango, since how things are right now and what I'm playing and stuff like that, because the Tango will be somewhere down the line of the IGN when I start collecting them, which I will, but it's just not, I'm not there yet. But stats-wise, the Tango is a better one by far. Also that you can have multiples of it, and you can only have one Super Pershing, and
So which one do you think looks the best?
That is really hard. That is for me. I mean, I really like the Dustified tanks. I love that classic look, but with the little tweaks. But the IJN walkers, at the same time, they are so special. They are so just specifically dust, and it's very hard for me to choose, and it's basically a flip of the coin here. But I think even with the just brutal coolness factor of the Pershing, I think the Tengu has the slight bit of advantage for me here. But it's really it could go either way.
Yeah, I'm a super tank fan, and I love the view of the Pershing. But if you have to put them next to each other and have to go for one of them, I play Dust, therefore I choose the Tengu.
Yeah.
Let's just face it. Otherwise, I would be lying.
Well, I'm gonna say the opposite.
All right. Of course, that's good.
No, I
how
still
long
like
did it take? I mean, that we.
Yeah, like you say, the Tengu looks really cool, but I'm a sucker for those tanks. So for me, it's also very close, but I'm gonna choose the Pershing in this case. And if we summarize everything, all in all, which would you put on the battlefield? Either playing casually or going to a tournament, which would you...
If you had the opportunity, since these are completely different blocks, I think we have to mention, if you had that choice that you can use this in the same army for some reason, it is kind of a hard question, but I think for me it actually goes down to point cost, because the Tengu is 3 points cheaper than the Super Pershing, and in most cases, it is slightly better. It's not that big of a difference, I think. But it just doesn't seem that the Super Pershing is cost effective for that point cost. So for me, the Tengu has the upper hand.
Yeah, the Tengu takes it all the way. It's just I think I've reasoned it enough.
It's the same bottom line for me. And when we talked about the Super Pershing, I mentioned that I think it should be. Like when you're checking points for points, I think that one should be a few points cheaper than it is. I think 23 is too much for it. And because of that, the Tengu will get the upper hand all in all.
Yeah, definitely.
But we kind of had this discussion before as well, that I think that the Dustified kits from the studio, in at least some of the newer ones, they kind of had this more or less the same kind of mentality, that when we are doing our unofficial cards, that they don't price them to be tournament competitive, but slightly above it, just because they are meant to be this kind of cool, different showpiece unit. They're not supposed to be the bread and butter of every army.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So there is a point to it having that slightly higher cost, I think. Then you can have different opinions about that, but I think that's what it stems from, at least.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Right. So finally, I think Ludde, you had prepared a little bit of a music break for us.
Yeah, well, I did actually, or I didn't prepare it too much, but I had it in my thoughts.
Yeah.
I was actually thinking about going with a band in the beginning that emanates from one of the gaming clubs that I played for a while. But then I realized that another band, also a local band, it was a little bit more interesting, because they do, I'm almost on first name basis with every one of them, so it's a little bit tribute to friends, actually. But this music, I feel, is very nice and soothing to have when you play games. I like this kind of music, and also they have a video on it, so it's a very good dorky little video, and you see it's a homemade one, but it's a nice little thing, and I like the theme of it, and I actually think it's a little bit more 1968 than the current Dust, but I feel it's still Dustifiable music, I think. Right. So
lay it on us then.
Yeah, lay it on you, and you can probably, I think, I would be surprised if anyone sues us for this one, so I think you can actually incorporate the whole video if you wanted to, but that's...
we're definitely going to have...
the link on the...
Yeah, we're definitely going to have a link to the video, so you can check it out.
So, the piece is at least called Juliet's Dreaming, and this is TJ Salvation.
All right. right.
Yeah, and it's a huge cliffhanger because you see the ninjas just coming up. And part 2, the next video, which we won't be showing, that you have to search for that. And I think you have to go into the dark, deep webs if you want to, but it's out there. And then the ninjas arrive and they take charge, and so you got the ninjas, and then you got the next after that you got the aliens. So this is very much
So it's a trilogy.
yeah, and it's dustifiable. So
Do the ninjas have smoke grenades?
actually they don't in this one, so I have to take that up with her when I said.
Right. Or maybe they just didn't use them.
But this
Our ninjas did in the ninja movie that me and my friends did.
Yeah, good. I'm so looking forward to that. Now, you know, in this thing, actually, right about here, we have to insert that Ninja Roger segment.
Oh, yeah.
I know it's out there. We had to get that and we got to put it in because it's hilarious in a good way.
Yeah.
When Ninja Roger is interviewed for a local TV in eastern Sweden, so to speak. That's beautiful. Ninjas as always justifiable, I say.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, not to make this any longer than it already is, I think we have a lot to talk about in upcoming hours. We're going to talk about some more tournaments that we've been to and that we're going to, but I think that is going to be it for this episode at least. So, with that said, I would like to thank everyone out there for sticking with us. Big thank you to all of you from me, Johannes.
And from Magnus.
And stay classy.
And we will see you on the battlefield. Thank you for listening to Dust War Journals. You can find us at dustwarjournals.com or on social media at Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Dust War Journals. And you can find our Patreon page at patreon.com/dustwarjournals. All music used in this podcast is made by Kevin MacLeod at incompetech.com.